on this episode of Lifeguard. Torrential rains in Long Beach flood the LA River, threatening the lives of 3 stranded men.
The swift water is absolutely dangerous, especially in these concrete canals and the rivers like we have here. They're not made for recreation. There's lots of obstructions, there's lots of things to hang you up, there's lots of things that will kill you in the river.
The lifeguards have to step up their rescue efforts in order to escort the men to safe ground.
The water was rising where that island wasn't going to be there in the next hour.
And in San Diego, thousands of swimmers take to the open ocean.
Last year the water was really rough and 62 degrees.
Gator means the ultimate challenge. 3 miles you have to finish in an hour and 45 minutes.
They don't call it the Roughwater swim for nothing.
But keeping everyone safe is no small task.
DC-1, is this a medical aid or just a rescue?
It's a rescue, but you're going to want to have medics standing by.
Then, high-speed action on Mission Bay spells trouble for the lifeguards.
When you get something that goes anywhere upwards of 60 miles an hour and weighs over 1,100 pounds, it's a weapon.
The lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline. And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, a lot of us are amateur meteorologists.
Good weather brings a lot of excitement, a lot of action.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
I have a 911 call of a distressed swimmer.
I like those exciting days where you don't really know what's going to happen.
Dispatch, the person injured on a vessel.
They are there to save you. They are there to lifeguard. Long Beach, California. Typically home to blue skies and tranquil waters, the city receives only about 12 inches of rain a year. However, Long Beach is also the end of the line for the nearly 50 miles of concrete channeling known as the LA River. And while the river is typically calm, a rainstorm in Los Angeles can change that rapidly.
We realized that night it had rained harder than we had anticipated, harder than the local forecasters had also anticipated. So when we came into work that morning, the river levels were higher than expected, and that's when the call went out.
This would be a swiftwater rescue response to 17 Charlie for the man standing in the LA River south of Willow.
When lifeguards arrive on scene, they discover that it's not a single person, but 3 people trapped by the rising river. Lifeguards must race to extract them, as the island will soon be underwater, and they are just upstream from a very hazardous dam.
If things go bad, there's an end of the line for us, and that's the Lowhead Dam. The one in Long Beach here is bank to bank. It's, almost 600 feet wide. They call them drowning machines, and they call them that for a reason.
As the river flows over the Lowhead Dam, it hits the water below, creating backwash and a deadly spin cycle.
It's not going to let you out. Once it gets you in, you're not getting out.
And all units responding to the LA River person is on the east side of the riverbed.
Extracting the men from the island will require the Long Beach Fire Department lifeguards to perform what is known as a swift water rescue, a procedure that can be treacherous and extremely unpredictable.
The swift water is absolutely dangerous, especially in these concrete canals and the rivers like we have here. They're not made for recreation. There's lots of obstructions, there's lots of things to hang you up, there's lots of things that will kill you in the river.
With time working against them, Marine Safety Officers Tyler Warzinski and Patrick Morrison approach the river's edge.
We need to set up upstream spotters, and we need to worry about how we're going to get out of the river if things go south.
The strong flow of the river forces the lifeguards to enter the water 100 yards upstream. And as they step in, it's the unseen forces below the surface that test them the most.
The water was rushing pretty fast. The pressure on our legs was so much that I was behind Tyler at this point, and I had to push him to keep him from falling down.
Cautiously navigating through the water, the lifeguards must now execute a precise maneuver, floating down the river to the victims.
You're talking maybe a 2-foot wide by 7-foot long strip of dry ground that these guys were huddled on.
In addition to a small target, the lifeguards must also avoid any obstructions.
If you become pinned up against something, just the pressure of that moving water against your body exerts hundreds of pounds of pressure. So you can struggle all you want, fight against it, you will not win. The water will always defeat you.
90 miles down the coast lies La Jolla, California. A beautiful city at the north end of San Diego. With today's forecast in the mid-70s and cooler water temperatures, it would appear to be a fairly normal day for the lifeguards. But today is one of a kind, because today is the La Jolla Roughwater Swim, an annual long-distance swimming event on the open water of the Pacific Ocean. Participants will be at the mercy of the rough surf and strong current. And for the lifeguards, this event is always a busy one.
Well, it's probably one of the biggest events that we lifeguard. Every year we expect about 2,000 swimmers, up to 5,000 people in the park. So that's a lot of people to watch and provide public safety to. And if you throw in all the variables that we have with potential for large surf, potential for cold water and hypothermia cases, potential for a shark sighting, it just makes it very complicated. So you do have to have a plan in place to follow in case one of these things does present itself. All right, so we got our basic plan. So Brian, just so you clearly understand, he's going to be operations.
Lifeguard Sergeant Rick Strobel will be the incident commander for the Roughwater Swim, supervising the lifeguards working the event.
I was really lucky to grow up right here in the immediate area. I was exposed to all kinds of stuff around the water, sailing, kayaking. Right out of college, I went straight into lifeguarding, and I very quickly realized that I loved lifeguarding. And I did other things for several years and had success and failures in what we call the real world, but it was the ocean that I really missed. So I came back, started all over again, started at the bottom, tried out again. It became very clear that lifeguarding was my passion. I'm very blessed to be able to combine my profession with my passion.
With thousands of swimmers expected, Sergeant Strobel has assembled an extra-large team of lifeguards today.
We have 26 lifeguards assigned to this event. We have a fireboat, a rescue boat, 2 personal watercraft, and 16 lifeguards on paddleboards in the water. So to coordinate all those people, get them scheduled, get them here, and then protect all the swimmers is a very challenging endeavor, no doubt.
9 a.m., the junior swim, first event of the day. Ops Commander Ryan Damon keeps watch from the cove, while lifeguard Brian Chadwell is out on the water, cautiously watching for any potential problems. One by one, the junior swimmers cross the finish line with only a few minor rescues due to exhaustion. 11 a.m., the mile swims begin, and the cold water temperatures have the lifeguards on the lookout.
Weather really influences this event. When people are in the water, as long as they are during this event, up to an hour and 45 minutes, hypothermia is always going to be a concern. And in most cases, it's not really life-threatening, but it can be. We just want to make sure that we catch it before it gets serious, and we treat it, and we correct the problem as quickly as possible.
It's now just afternoon. The weather and the water conditions are cooperating so far, and lifeguards are keeping the early events safe. But the final event of the day is only a few hours away. The extremely grueling 3-mile swim, simply known as the Gator Man.
Well, this is an event that actually is the largest ocean swim event, and it's a rugged thing. 3 miles in that ocean, and especially if the water's cold. You know, if you're not used to that, that's a tough one.
Last year the water was really rough and 62 degrees.
Gator Man means the ultimate challenge. 3 miles you have to finish in an hour and 45 minutes to get your t-shirt and a medal.
San Diego's prevailing west winds and large swell can be treacherous for those looking to compete in this 3-mile open water swim. Guards must remind even the most experienced swimmers of the perils that lie out on the course.
Right next to the pier, we have a notorious rip current, so it is a dangerous area to swim. We recommend that you keep your distance from the pier when swimming.
It's now 2:15, only minutes before the Gator Man will begin. Sergeant Strobel gathers all the lifeguards to discuss their final game plan.
Excellent work. Probably been one of the best rough water swims so far in a long time. Primary objective, drowning prevention, and then medical aid as needed, all right? Team 1, who's in your team? You're gonna be on the first leg of the mile swims, and then you're gonna go to the furthest leg of the Gator Man.
2:30 p.m., the time has come.
All right, let's go.
26 lifeguards protecting over 500 swimmers in the open water.
Take your mark.
In Long Beach, an overnight rainstorm has the LA River raging. It is also quickly rising, so the Long Beach Fire Department lifeguards have responded to the call of 3 men hopelessly trapped on a sandbar in the middle of the river. Now they must hurry to extricate the men before the island is gone, and they are washed downstream into a deadly low-head dam.
Water was rising. It was rising enough to where that island wasn't going to be there in the next hour.
How many victims? 3? 4 victims.
As additional lifeguards prepare for backup support, the team plans their return route. Quickly preparing the first of 3 men for extraction, the lifeguards begin their journey back to shore.
Along the way, making this rescue, the patient was nervous. He kept saying he was scared and he was tired.
Getting into swift water with the patient changes the ballgame. That patient could panic. They could start to become combative, want you to let go of them. There's a whole lot of things. So positioning that patient so they can't get at you, yet you can still rescue them, that's the key.
The first man is safely back on shore, but the river is rising quicker than expected. The lifeguards must make this next trip their final one. They add Marine Safety Officer James Reinheimer to help extract the men before they succumb to the water or the cold.
Hypothermia can set in quickly. The water is going to be really cold, and they could have been wet for hours before they got into this situation. So they could be well deep into a hypothermic state.
Team's back out on the sandbar. It looks to be almost completely submerged.
The 3 lifeguards and 2 victims assemble a line for the final critical leg of the rescue.
Dispatch, all parties on return to shore.
Once you put your hands on them, they're yours, okay? They're your responsibility, and you've got to get them to safety. You got to try everything in your ability to get them to safety.
With Marine Safety Officer Warzinski leading the way, the lifeguards battle through seagrass, slippery rocks, and hundreds of pounds of water pressure.
You have your biggest guy in the front. He's taking the brunt of the force of the water and leaning into it. So what we did is to put a victim in between each one of us. In the event we did fall down, each person would have a hold of a victim. We can get them over to shore.
If they went south, they would go south quickly. 1 second, we would be walking, the next second, we'd be in the water. If he gets swept under and loses his footing, now that victim is taking the brunt of the force, and we're all going to be swimming.
All right, they are 15 feet away. 10 feet. 5. Rescue 9 and dispatch, we're clear. Everyone's out of the water.
It's the best feeling to help save a life. It's what keeps people like me in jobs like this.
Rescue 9 have been released from the incident.
Today, the lifeguards of the Long Beach Fire Department were successful. While the weather can be unpredictable, they've proven they are prepared for anything. In San Diego, lifeguards are extremely busy with the 81st annual La Jolla Roughwater Swim.
So far, we've had about 15 of the 20 events successfully completed. Had over 1,000 swimmers so far. Right now, we got the granddaddy of them all. That's the Gator Man. It's a 3-mile open water swim.
Today's weather is nearly ideal for this event, but lifeguards know that there are still dangers on the course.
Right next to the pier, we have a notorious rip current. We recommend that you keep the distance from the pier when swimming.
During the Gator Man, swimmers will enter the water from La Jolla Cove, making a 1.5-mile journey across open ocean to the Scripps Pier. From there, they will turn around and return the same 1.5 miles back to the cove.
Last thing, don't let any swimmers go into the shores. You need to rescue somebody, stop them, don't send them into the shores. We got to put them on a PWC and get them back here so we're accounted for. Team leaders, primary objective, drowning prevention, and then medical aid as needed. All right? All right, let's go.
The lifeguards' plan is about to be put to the test, as 26 guards will protect hundreds of swimmers in the open water.
Be advised, Gator Man is underway.
With so many swimmers, lifeguards must work tirelessly and always be on the lookout for trouble.
PWC-1 to ops. I've got a female swimmer complaining of shortness of breath. Bring her to the cove now.
PWC-1, is this a medical aid or just a rescue?
Just a rescue, but you're going to want to have medics standing by.
Lifeguard Brian Chadwell brings the distressed swimmer back to the cove for medical care. The long-distance swim has claimed its first victim.
What happened? I couldn't breathe at all, and I couldn't even see my name.
Still a bit dizzy?
Yeah.
Now on dry land, the swimmer seems to have recovered, but she will undergo a full checkup with paramedics as a precaution. Even with moderate weather conditions this year, the Gator Man is still earning its reputation as one of the most grueling events in the world.
The weather can be deceiving because it can be really sunny and clear outside for the spectators, but then in the water, they don't call it the Roughwater swim for nothing.
27 minutes have elapsed, and the lead pack of competitors are now halfway through the course. But back at the cove, yet another swimmer has been brought in with troubling symptoms.
180, 100. Blood pressure's a little high.
It was about 100 yards out. I got very short of breath. My blood pressure was high. It was very high. I turned around, lifeguard brought me back in. It's the first time in this race, and just, it wasn't in the cards, I guess.
Nearly an hour into the race, and the first wave of swimmers return to the cove, successfully conquering the Gator Man. However, with hundreds of competitors still in the water, the lifeguards have yet to cross their finish line.
Off, Marine 1.
Marine 1.
At the end of the pier, there's one guy on one of the staff surfboards who's not going to make it, needs rescue.
Roger that, you on the green kayak.
The guards have identified an exhausted swimmer on the course near a notoriously strong rip current by the Scripps Pier.
And lifeguard is Marine 1 to the green kayak. We have a vessel en route.
PWC-2 races to collect the man, luckily reaching him before he is pulled by the current.
Sir, if you can't swim all the way back, you want some ride, go ahead and come up here and we'll have you sit down.
Too tired to make the swim back to the cove, the man will come aboard Marine 1 for safe transport. Back at the cove, more and more swimmers continue to cross the finish line.
Good job, people! Good job! Woo!
But with the event time approaching 1 hour and 45 minutes, the lifeguards are ready for their final push.
You're still in the water, and the Gator Man, the time has expired. We're gonna pick you up, thank you.
Today we made about 30 to 35 rescues. That was basically assisting fatigued swimmers, swimmers that were cold, swimmers that were asking for assistance.
We couldn't really do this race as successfully without the lifeguards. They're really a major factor for all of us because they're on their paddle boards and they actually help guide the lead pack of swimmers to where they're going.
Nobody drowned. Excellent work. We met our main goal, which was no drownings. Everybody was accounted for. Nobody got hurt. And so it was a very successful event. You guys have been busting your butts all day. We're going to get loaded up and get out of here. Nice job. Thank you. Excellent work.
San Diego is known for its sunny skies and warm weather. But even in the middle of summer, this California paradise can fall victim to June gloom.
When the wind blows offshore, that means from the land to the water, it's blowing the surface water away from the coast. The ocean does not like uneven water, so something has to come up to replace that, and that comes from the deeper water, and that water is generally quite cold. And if you get a lot of upwelling, you're going to notice a very quick drop in temperatures, and that happens occasionally in our summer here in Southern California.
And today, while cold water temperatures are keeping the beach crowd scarce, the same cannot be said for San Diego's Mission Bay. At 4,000 acres, it's the largest man-made aquatic park in the country.
Mission Bay is a unique recreational aquatic playground because it has so much mixes of use. You go anywhere else, it's sailboarding only, or, water skiing only in this area.
Swimming, Fishing and water skiing are all popular here. But in recent years, one thing has come to dominate the waterway: personal watercraft.
I would say 90% of the water activity out here on Mission Bay is all personal watercraft. There is no brakes, so when you get something that goes anywhere upwards of 60 miles an hour and weighs over 1,100 pounds, it's a weapon.
Lifeguards always focus on prevention, stopping and educating PWC operators who are breaking the law. Based on the seriousness of the infraction, the lifeguards decide who gets a citation.
I'm going to be issuing you a citation for operating the vessel too close to shore.
And who gets off with a warning.
Do you have any idea why I've stopped you this afternoon or this morning? No idea. This whole area is 5 miles an hour.
It's kind of like when your mom said, okay, sit down and listen to me.
You're driving one of these, there are rules to the road when you're driving a personal watercraft.
And they kind of finally will get it, like, oh, I don't want to be stopped again and have that guy talk me to death.
But despite the vigilance of the lifeguards, the size of the bay makes accidents inevitable.
Dispatch Guardian 1, we have a report of PWC collision. 2 parties involved. PD is en route as well. Anyone copy?
2 personal watercraft have been involved in a head-on collision on the open water.
These 2 guys are out there doing donuts, run into each other, so I go up, jump on my ski and walk over, or drive over to see if they're okay, and one guy can't swim and he's freaking out. So I grabbed a hold of him, told his partner to shut off his ski. I got him, and he doesn't. Instead, he hits the gas and rides up my leg.
As lifeguards provide medical aid, they discover that this is just another case of inexperienced boaters. Luckily, no one was seriously injured in this accident. But as the guards wrap up, they'll head back out on patrol to keep the bay and all of its inhabitants safe.